This is my Smart American Accent training. Welcome to our Saturday live question and answer class. We have a slightly earlier start time today. And at the beginning of class today, we're going to be talking about some minimal pair words or similar words. These words are different, have different vowel sounds and different spelling. So we're going to walk through the pronunciation and spelling for hit, heat, hate, and head. This was a request from a viewer. If you have a question for me today, feel free to put that in the chat at any time during the class, and I'll turn to those after we have our initial discussion. If you're watching this later on and you have a question or something you'd like me to cover, please feel free to leave me a comment, and I'll direct you to resources and answers or add your word to my list to cover in a future video. So for these words, one thing to watch out for is anything that starts with the H sound. If English is not your native language, just making sure that you have that sound. It's very light. There's a little tiny constriction in the back of the throat, but we don't want a strong sound. We don't have that in English. And we also want to make sure that we're not leaving it off. So for some speakers, non-native speakers, the difference between something like hit and it or hate and ate is difficult. If that's the case for you, you can check out my videos about initial H, the H at the start of words, to work on that sound. But for most people, I think the challenge here with words like hit and hate and heat have to do with the vowel sounds. So in the word hit, letter I says the I sound, like in it or in did. This is the lax high front vowel. The I sound is challenging for some non-native speakers. Hearing the difference between hit and heat. It's all about the tongue height and tension of the vowel. So in heat, letters EA say the E vowel. The symbol, the IPA symbol, is a lowercase I, but we typically spell E, that vowel, with EA or EE, or just letter E, like in me, etc. So having another word to use together with these two, if you have difficulty making the difference between heat and hit, you might want to do, for example, it hit or hit and miss versus heat, see the heat or feel the heat. Having those to pair together, you want see and he, heat, to have the same vowel sound, and hit and miss to have the same vowel sound. So I do have a number of videos talking about vowel I, vowel E, and you can hear minimal pair words like these in our playlist for minimal pairs, as well as learning about these and all of the vowels of English in our Sounds of English course on speechmodification.com. I'll walk you through which words have which vowels, how they're spelled, and the vowel placement to really help you get oriented and have a strong foundation for pronouncing anything you like in American English. So you can check that out here on the channel and on our website, speechmodification.com. So we have the E and the I, that's the highest, most tense, and then more lax. For our word hate, we spell it with an A and an E at the end. The A vowel is often spelled with AI or AY. It's a diphthong, so it's a sliding vowel. So when I say hate or ate, I'm sliding as I say that vowel, versus E and I, those are high, stable, no sliding, no movement. A, you can feel your jaw closes and the tongue lifts as you finish that vowel. So for this one, what I recommend is actually say it without the T first. Hey, hey, just like in day or say. For most people, if they're not having to close to a consonant sound, when they just have to do A in a word like that, it's easier for them to make that correct vowel and then add the T back. So hey, hate. We also have this word hey. This is how we spell the one that's like hey, hi, how you doing? This is hey, the dried grass. Okay, so hit, heat, hate. And then I also included head here, even though it doesn't have a T at the end, just because this is an exception. EA usually will say the E sound like in heat. But in the word head, also in the word read, past tense, it says the vowel, like the word red. So she was a redhead. So that's one that where you just have to learn that the spelling doesn't match our typical pattern and visualize it in your mind as being more that eh sound. The lax eh is a little bit higher than the starting point for the a. A little bit more open, that is, and we have just a stable sound again. Head, no gliding, no diphthong. So hate, head. Once you can say these words, you might find it difficult to say them by themselves. Do try pairing them with other words with the same vowels, and just notice which ones you have a tendency to have difficulty with. Try using them in some short phrases, making sure that you have those vowels solid, and work on the vowels independently, other words with that vowel as well, so that can help you with these more challenging contrasts of similar words or minimal pairs. Okay, thanks for sticking with me during the first part here, and it's nice to see so many of you here this morning. Welcome, everyone. I'll turn to your questions now. Feel free to put questions in the chat about this topic or anything that will help you with American English pronunciation and American accent. I'm happy to discuss those topics with you today. Okay, so I see we have a question about all those and both times in connected speech. So linking, if I'm saying all those, there's not much happening here in linking in terms of any changes or any strategies. It's just moving from the all those. I guess actually I will say that I just noticed now when I said all those, that instead of doing all with a finishing movement of lifting my tongue behind my teeth, that the tip of my tongue is already ready for this TH tongue position as I'm saying all. So I'm using the version of the dark L, all those, where I don't close off and lift for the tongue. I'm using the back of my tongue to make all. Back of my tongue is staying a little bit lifted as I get ready for the TH of those, all those. And then your other one is both times. Here, the TH comes first, both times. Instead of pulling my tongue back and lifting the tip of the tongue for the T of times, both times, two separate movements, I keep my tongue in the TH tongue position, both times, and then I just close for the T sound further back on my tongue. So if I were just saying the word times by itself, I would lift my tongue behind my teeth, stop all the air, and then burst it out. I'm still stopping the air and bursting it out, but because I'm saying both times, in order to make that smooth, instead of the tip of my tongue sealing off, I'm sealing off further back on my tongue, both times. So this is called co-articulation. It allows me to link these together and say it smoothly and fluently, because changing the position that I typically would use for the T sound because of the context, because the TH is before it. So as we learn about the position for various consonant and vowel sounds, we're constantly adjusting those depending on where it is in the word, what words come before it, what sounds are around it, in order to speak fluently. Otherwise, we would have to stop and break after every word, or even within words, to make those sounds happen. So when you learn about the position or what your mouth should be doing to make a sound, know that it's always going to be changing and adjusting depending on what other sounds are around. So that is one of the challenges, but it's really valuable and helpful for speaking more fluently and more easily with correct English pronunciation. Thank you for that question. That was a really good topic to talk about. And yes, I'm doing very well. Thank you. I hope you are too. Welcome, everyone. It's nice to see you from all around the world this morning. Great to see you. We have a question about what should I do? And you're telling us that the rest of the words, that what and do were very clear, but the should I was very reduced. So yes, so what should I do? So what is going to have a little bit of emphasis here because it's the question word. The main stress in what should I do is going to be on do. So do is going to be about the same length as all of this part. What should I do? They might have said it more like, what should I do? What should I do? I would say that generally speaking, this is where our stress is. So we want to be able to reduce and link all through here. What should I? What should I? So if I said it word by word, what should I do? I would have a clear vowel on each of those. But because these are reduced, the should I is going to link here. This is going to lose that clear vowel. What should I? What should I? And probably be a little bit more like an rather than an sound. Again, also here is going to be a little bit of an It already is an but really short. So I would say we probably say it as what should I? What should I do? What should I? What should I do? What should I do? So you can hear how the T and SH kind of merge together. The vowels get very reduced and it's very quick. I will be coming up with a video, it's going to be airing soon, talking about a technique called backwards chaining that can help you get a rhythm like this. And what you do there is you start with the stressed word and you work backwards from it. So for example, in this phrase, I would say, do, I do, should I do, what should I do, what should I do? That can help me get that rhythm of really feeling that the do is stretched and the other words go by quite quickly. Yeah, good observation. I'm sure that what you were hearing was correct, and it's good. It's a good sign when you're noticing that kind of linking, that's happening. Thank you for that, for bringing that topic up. Okay, great. We have a question about the words marry, as in to marry someone. Merry as in happy or Merry Christmas, and Mary the name. So depending on where you are in the US, for most of the US, for most speakers and most dialects of American English, all three of these are the same. So there's only a few places where they differ. For example, some New York accents are going to say this as an sound, like marry. For the most part, all of them are going to have the air diphthong. So listen around you to where you are. There's a few places on the East Coast, South, where they do still differentiate these three. Generally, West Coast, Midwest, the sort of broader American English dialects, they're all the same, and they all have the air vowel. So thinking about them like Mary. So it was a merry day when Mary and her husband married. I'd like to marry. It would make me very merry. All the same. I do have a video talking about this where I go into a little more detail of some of the variants and regional dialects, so you can check that out here on the channel. Thank you for that question. Okay, we have a question about the pronouncing and spelling lip sync. So lip syncing. Okay, so whether or not to spell it as sync or sync with a CH. Yeah, so I would have to look that up. I know when we say sync, we just spell it with a K, but lip syncing looks right to me. Syncing. Yeah, I think we might, when it moves to synced, past tense, or syncing, we might have the CH. I recommend just looking in an online dictionary for the spelling of that. For the pronunciation, we stress on the lip and the sync of sync. So it sounds like lip syncing. Sounds the same as this, like a sinking ship, lip syncing. Yeah, good question. Yeah, typically, I just recommend, if you're not sure about the spelling of something, use a dictionary. It's what I do. You can also, if you're writing in a document, use the spell check and it'll show you. And then for pronunciation, online dictionaries are great too, because you can listen and hear the pronunciation in a recording in the online dictionary as well. Thank you. Okay, we have a question about January, February, and autumn. So I do have videos for all of the months of the year and particular videos for these two, as well as a video for autumn, but let's go through and give you some help here. So for January, we have first syllable stress. So Jan, it's the J sound. It's the A, black cat vowel, so Jan. And then in this case, letter U says U, so not just the U sound, but a Y sound as well, Jan, U. AR says air, and then lastly Y says E, so January. In February, we do have an R here. Most of the time, though, native speakers drop that R. So it's correct to say February, but you'll often hear native speakers just say Feb, U, air, E. So notice both of these have the U, air, E, U-airy, January, February. Or if you want to be very exacting, you can say Feb, Ru. So February. Or February. I think this one is easier. February matches with January. And it's in the dictionary as a correct variant. It's probably more commonly used than February. And then finally, autumn. Letters A, U say the ah vowel in this word, and it's stressed. So it's just like in the word saw. I saw, it was autumn. And we tend to flap that T, which means it sounds like a light D sound. And then we have a schwa in the final syllable. So I would rewrite that as autumn. Autumn. Almost no vowel here. We're going right from the flap to the sound, really short reduced vowel, dum, autumn, autumn. So in where I live, autumn does not happen in January and February. Autumn happens before January and February. Okay, thank you. That's good basic words, challenging, not easy to pronounce, and helpful to talk about. So thank you for bringing that up. Okay, we have a question about the long E in the phrase the oven, and as the diphthong E via linking J. Okay, so if we're doing the word the, we say it as the when the next word starts with a consonant, like the bird, the house, the day. You can use a schwa for the, even when you have a vowel. I could say the oven, but then I have to have a little glottal stop, the oven, to block it. So the other pronunciation and the rule basically is that we use the E or the when the next letter starts with a vowel. So you're asking about the oven, that as we link between the E and the next vowel, the we end up with vowel to vowel linking there. We end up with a little bit of a y sound. So we have the oven is kind of how it sounds. We don't need an extra y sound. It just happens naturally as I move from E to a. The oven, the oven. And you're wondering if we can say that like this. The oven, the oven, via the linking J. So this, I don't know if this is a diphthong in your language. In English, we don't really have this I plus y, the oven, the oven. So when I'm saying the oven, you might be hearing kind of the oven. So we do elide those. I would say it's probably not a diphthong. It's more like the going from the E to the just has a little bit of a y connecting those two. I do have a video about vowel to vowel linking that you might find helpful, and how those things sound when we have the the word E and a word starting with a vowel. You can check that out on the channel, and if you can't find it, just leave me a comment and I'll make sure that I send you to my vowel linking video. I also talk about that in our Sounds of English course and in our American Accent 6-week course on speechmodification.com, walking you through that, how that happens within words and between words for both vowel to vowel linking and other types of linking as well. Great question. Thank you so much. It's always helpful to talk about that because the is the most common word in English. It's the one we say the most. I think 1 in 20 words is the word the, so it makes up about 8% of our speech. Worth working on pronouncing it correctly and linking it and saying it smoothly in fluent speech. Definitely a big part of what we're saying and talking about all the time. Okay. Great. We have a question about with, using the word with, the difficulty of that. So phrases like with me, with him, with them, with you. So what you're talking about here is true for a lot of people, that we have that TH and then we have to move on from the word with. Some people say with and some people say with. So you can do it with the voiceless, like I've been modeling, with, like in the same TH that we have in think. Some people say with, the same TH we have in them. So perhaps using one or the other might be easier for you. So that's a first place to start. If you can say with you or with you. If one is easier, go with whichever is easier because they're both correct. Also, when I'm saying something like with him, we sometimes will reduce that. I'm going with them, with him. And it'll turn more to like the TH links. Can you go with him, or with him, with him? You can drop that H, so that might help you. When you're doing with them, you don't need to do it like I just did with 2 THs, with them. You can just do with them, kind of make one voice TH to connect it, with them. Go with them, I'll go with them. With me, I'm just going to go from the TH to close my lips, pull my tongue back out of the way, with me. And notice if I say, are you going with me? Are you going with me? There's not as much I don't need a long, clear TH there. I do need that tongue position. I do need to have, I don't want wit me or wit me. I don't want to whisk me, any of those other incorrect sounds. But I also don't need with me because usually with is unstressed, not a super important word. And it can be fast and somewhat reduced in connected speech. So I would just build from your other word. Try you with you, me with me, him with him, them with them. Just lots of repetition on saying the other word first and then getting comfortable with the with being more fluent and kind of shorter and unimportant. Once you can do that, I would add a word before the with. For example, I'm with you, he's with me, we're with them, I'm with him, just so that you can get the with to be, again, smooth and natural in between other words. It just takes time and practice to be able to say it easily, working on the TH generally, and then particularly just how to put these together with other words. Find the place where it's difficult for you, work at that place, and then keep trying to build your skills from there. And then you'll find that with repetition and practice, those become easier. I did just recently create a new podcast and video here on the channel focusing on words ending with TH and starting with TH and how to link them more fluently. So I would check that out. Go to our channel page and look at the podcast playlist, or search under the word with or the letters TH on the channel, and you'll get to that video. It's all about how to get those to be smoother and more fluent, because it sounds like that's where you're struggling and finding difficulty is really in using that naturally and without it slowing you down too much. Great. A lot of people struggle with that, so thank you for bringing that up today. Okay. We have a question about call and cow and whether they're the same. So no, call has the dark L and the ah vowel, call. And cow, ow, has the ow diphthong. So cow is like now, call is like tall. He was tall, he made a call. Now I see a cow. So ow, ow, we just are closing and we have a rounding. All, we're closing and having a lifting. Especially if I'm saying call a friend, or cow is, you're going to really hear that w connecting these two and that l connecting those two. Thank you. Good question. Okay. Nice to see you, Augusto. Thank you so much for being a channel member and your consistent support. He has a question about to say the word course, and then also tournament and tour. So in the word course, it's actually the same as this word course. I'm taking a course. He used course language, and it's just the or diphthong. So thinking about it like course, building from or, core, course. So spelling wise, neither of those. This one makes a little more sense because we do have OAR for or in some other words as well. But just thinking about it like a simple or sound. And then for tournament, some people say tournament with an tournament. I just say tournament with an sound, just like in the word turn. So tournament. Both are correct. I think tournament is probably more common. Tournament with a little more oo to it. Is going to be more common on the East Coast probably. But if it's easier, just use straight up tournament. And then for on tour, this is where we do use more of an sound. He's going to go on tour. You will hear there's a trend towards going a little bit towards like tour for that, and I would not recommend that because I think that it hasn't shifted to that. I think it's still kind of incorrect and hard to understand. Also in tournament, I would avoid the or. So either tour, tournament. For tour, or for tournament, we can also use tournament. For tour, you really want to keep that oo. And notice as I go from the oo to the in tour, that I end up kind of, because the is a vowel and the oo is a rounded vowel, I end up with like ooer. There's a little bit of a w sound that happens naturally in my vowel to vowel linking. Tour. I don't want an obvious R. I don't really want to close W. I don't want to close all the way to tour. But if you're thinking tour, I am closing and linking those two. I end up with a gliding w between them. Okay. Yeah, great words. Thank you for being here this morning. And again, thank you so much for being a channel member, for your consistent support. I really appreciate it. Okay. We have a question about the words celebrate and chat. So for celebrate, we have first syllable stress, red tent vowel. The second E says the sound, and then letter E makes the A say its name. So it sounds like break. Let's celebrate today being Saturday. And then your other word was chat. That has the A vowel, just like cat, and the CH sound. So there's no spelling change I would do for chat, just using another word like at a chat or that chat, thinking about that A being a very forward vowel, and the CH is pushed out. This is making me think of the French chat for cat. So it's just the cat vowel, but we do say that as chat in English. Not in French, of course. Great. We have a question about for, of, and from. So these are great words to practice with because usually as we're talking, they're not stressed and they're not important. They go by quickly. It's easy to make errors on them. And so it's useful to practice them both by themselves and especially in some short phrases. So the word for, when I'm saying it by itself, I use the or. So that's what it's for. If it's stressed or if it's by itself, it sounds the same as this for. But most of the time, it's not stressed and it's not important. So if I'm saying that's for you, it's for Saturday, it's for the party, you can hear how I'm using more of an sound. Fur, it's the same as this word fur, like a fir tree, or this word fur, like the fur of an animal. Or you can think of it like fur with the er sound. So for this one, if I'm highlighting and stressing on the word or saying it by itself, a true or. Most of the time, though, in connected speech, for. It's for fast use. It's for you. It's for the video. Of is a confusing word in that it has neither an O sound or an F or F sound. It consists of a schwa. So oftentimes it's going to be the quick reduced schwa. These two sound the same. They both sound like a. It's just that in a stressed word, we mark it this way. In an unstressed syllable, we mark it this way. So in the dictionary, you're probably going to see this for a and this for v. In reality, most of the time, of the vowel is going to be very short. So think about it like this. Think of a person. The months of the year, you can hear how as I link, I almost have no vowel there. I'm almost just saying v, of, just a short little reduced vowel before the v sound. So again, using it in a lot of phrases instead of think of, because of, you can hear how I'm not really saying because of. It's almost like the vowel is just gone and I'm kind of tacking on that v sound. And then from, again, we have another O that says schwa. So it's going to be the schwa sound, thinking about it like from. And you want to avoid opening too much or doing anything around it there. It's not from or from, it's just from. And again, from you to me, from Monday to Thursday, from 1 to 2, from, it's going to be very short, almost no vowel, very reduced there. For these words, like the reduced for, the short of, the short from, I have some quick practice where these are parts of phrases that you can practice with. That's on our podcast playlist and our quick practice for fluency playlists. These are great words to pay attention to and practice because it's easy to make errors on them because we're not usually paying attention. If I'm saying a word like water or business, I'm thinking about that word. It has a lot of meaning. It's a content word. These words are just zooming by quickly, frequently in everyday speech and not always getting our attention when it comes to pronunciation. And they can be difficult. So thank you for bringing that up and definitely practice them as much as you can in short phrases so that they come fluently and naturally to you. Wonderful. Great questions today. We'll take a few more and then we'll wrap up for today, but it's wonderful to see so many of you here and I appreciate all the great questions. So we have a question about, is it a fixed rule that 3-syllable verbs ending in ate have the stress on the 3rd syllable from the end? So for example, if I'm saying appreciate, donate. Oh, donate's not 3 syllables. How about educate? Illustrate. So these two are 3 syllables. Basically, when we have 8, we're not stressing on the 8. So in appreciate, it is the 3rd syllable from the end. Educate, it is the 3rd syllable from the end. Illustrate, another example. So typically, yes, I would say another one, demonstrate. That usually we have the H syllables unstressed, the syllable before it's unstressed, and then the main syllable is the third from the last is stressed. There may be exceptions to this, but I'm glad you pointed it out, because basically often people will hear that clear A, that we do keep the A sound there, and they'll stress on it, like demonstrate or appreciate instead of appreciate, demonstrate. That's a common error pattern that I hear in syllable stress. I think it happens because if I'm saying like appreciation, I ran out of room. We do stress on the A, appreciation, education, demonstration. There the A syllable is stressed because we always stress the syllable before the shun. But in these, we still keep that clear A, but we don't stress on it. So we stress elsewhere in the word. I do have some videos talking about this, and I can research for you if it's always the third to last syllable, but it isn't the 8th syllable. So that's a good thing to know about. Thank you for bringing that up. Okay. Let's see, I'm missing a few of your comments here. I'm going to try to make sure I answer at least one question from everyone. If I don't get to all of your questions, please feel free to ask your question again in a comment, and I will return after the video and give you some resources and answers in comments as well. We have a question about phonetics books for General American. I don't know of a good one that I can recommend. I've seen a few that have some good information. I do like using online dictionaries for the phonetics, and my Sounds of English course is going to walk you through those phonetics. It's not a book, but it has a lot of materials that you could print out and you can refer to. So that would be one thing I would say. If and when I find a book that I can recommend, I will. But in the meantime, I would say using resources here is going to be the most helpful, just because I'm sure there are some good books out there, but finding some resource that uses IPA and explains it in a way that's useful for international second language speakers, I have yet to find one that I can really endorse. Okay, good. A question about when we're pronouncing, for instance, can we use a linking R? Yes. So here's another example of for becoming more of a fur, and we do link, for instance. So the R kind of jumps onto the next word. Yeah, that's pretty typical in that case. A question about the word within. So 2 correct ways, either voiceless TH, within, or voiced TH, within. I think the voiced within is more common. For whatever reason, where I grew up, we said within, so I use the voiceless, but oftentimes as we link, people use the voiced TH for both with and within. Both of the vowels in that word are also the I sound. Great. Few more quick questions and then we'll get going. We'll call it a day. We have a question about for a follow-up on educate, whether that sounds like ooh or you. So educate does sound like a U. So educate. Educate. Yeah. So this is an example of a U that says the U, the Y, and the U sound, not just the U sound. Very good. That's typical because words with DU, or the J sound and U say U, the Y sound. Okay. I'm just checking to see which of your questions I may have missed here. The word current, saying it in a flow. We stress on the first syllable. So have you been following current events? Current events. If the next word starts with a vowel sound, we often then treat this like the NT in the middle of the word. So in a word like interview, it's okay to say the T, interview, then we use a true T, but often in American English we'll drop that and it'll sound more like interview. Same thing happens with NT at the end. When the next word starts with a vowel, it kind of acts as it links, like a medial NT, so that'll sound more like current events, current events. I'll go right from the N to the I sound of events. Do you follow current events? So that's one way we can do it. If I'm saying the current time, then I'll use an unreleased T, the current time. My N sound will be very short and you'll just hear the one T of the time, or current place. So the T follows the rules for T at the end where it's unreleased if the next word starts with a consonant, or follows the medial NT rule if the next word starts with a vowel. Yeah, good question. That's definitely something that isn't apparent when you're looking at just the pronunciation of the word by itself. So it is always helpful to look at how it sounds in flowing, fluent speech with words before and after it. Okay, we have a question about how to find the stressed syllable in a word. Unfortunately, there's no trick. There are some patterns. For example, as I mentioned, we always stress the syllable that comes right before shun. So like definition, communication, that's one pattern you can count on. We also have some rules for words that function as nouns and verbs. For example, the project noun is stressed on the first syllable. Project, the verb, is stressed on the second syllable. This is not always true, but there are a number of words like record, record, produce, produce, that do follow that pattern. So that's another pattern you can count on. We often stress the second to last syllable in a word. That's called the penultimate syllable. But it does depend on where the word comes from, and it does vary from word to word. So what I'll suggest is it's very helpful to learn to use the online dictionaries for this, because they will show where the stress falls in a word. Dropped my pen. So for example, in the word project, in the online dictionary, the noun, they're going to show a line before the stressed syllable. So it'll show like project. So even if I can't read these symbols, I can look for that where that line is. That's going to tell me that pra is long and ject is short. They'll also often have a recording, and that's usually the way to get the rhythm in your mind, is to listen and repeat. Project, project. Listen for that length and that clear vowel. And then I also have some videos where I'm talking about syllable stress. You can learn common words that have first syllable stress and second syllable stress. This is something I cover in my American Accent 6-week course. So in that course, I cover about the top 1,000 most frequently used words and show you the rhythm and syllable stress for those. And you don't have to, you probably won't have to go through and learn all of those, but you can kind of check and see if there are any where you may have that stored with a different rhythm in your mind. So it's a great way to sort of verify words that you already use, whether or not you're using the right rhythm. When you get a new word, try to listen for the rhythm as you're hearing it, or if you're finding a new word by reading, look it up in the dictionary and look for that little line before the stressed syllable. So unfortunately, it's not always obvious where the stress is, and there's no one fixed rule that we can use, but there are patterns that you can learn. And once you start listening for stress, you'll notice more and more what the stress is in words in English as you're learning them, using them, and listening to others. So focusing in on it will really help develop your skills there, even though unfortunately I can't give you one or two simple rules to follow because it's very varied. Okay, we have a question about the word whilst. So this is something that I would say is used in British English and in written English, but not really used by Americans in speaking English. It is like the word, same as the word while. So we would use the word while, which has the I diphthong. While. Whilst is just the same, adding the st, whilst. Great. We have a question about abhor. Has second syllable stress, so the or is the stress syllable, and then this is the a vowel, but it's going to be very reduced. So it might even be a schwa, like abhor. Abhor. So thinking about it like an sound, abhor. Yeah, actually it might be a schwa in the dictionary as well. Yeah, somewhat less commonly spoken words, but still helpful and good to know about. And we have a question about manifestation. So manifestation, here's our stress on the A syllable. We have a secondary stress on man, so we have a clear vowel there. It does sound like the word man. Manifestation. The manifestation, the meaning is something that comes to that was predicted or thought about and then becomes real. So something could be the manifestation of my hard work or of my thoughts, the real thing of something that was planned or prepared or thought of. Great. Question about letters EI and IE. This one usually says the E sound, like in field or shield or, and this one usually says, also this one says E as well, like in pieces. It can say A, it kind of depends on the word. So in a word like rain, this one says the A sound. The rule that we learned when we were kids for spelling was I before E except after C. So if you're wondering about how to spell something like a piece, if you're wondering if it should be EI or IE, this is a more common spelling. So generally speaking, you want to put the I before E, and then it says except after C, which I think means in a word that has a C in it. I'm trying to think of an example with a C, EI. I can't think of one. Oh, yeah, maybe receive. Receive. No, that doesn't follow that rule. Okay, I don't know why that rule is, but you can use that to kind of remember that usually we have I before E and it says the E sound. Here's an example of EI saying the A sound. If you have something more specific you want to know about those, let me know. Great. Okay. So many good questions today. My apologies if I didn't get to your question. I do hope you'll attend again next Saturday and bring your questions. And as I mentioned before, if you're watching this later on as a replay, or if I didn't get to your question, leave it in a comment and I'll get back to you with some answers. I'll do some research, send you towards videos that will help you or cover your questions in a future class. I'll be back again tomorrow with a special Sunday. Monday we'll have our mini Monday. Wednesday is our Word Wednesday. On Friday is our Fluent Friday. So a lot to look forward to in the upcoming week. You can see what's coming up by going to our channel page on the community page, and there we have some sneak previews, some quizzes, some polls. So it's a way for you to kind of get a look ahead of what's coming. Leave your requests and comments, of course. And thank you so much to those of you who have subscribed to the channel. I appreciate the channel is growing and your support is wonderful. And especially those of you who are channel members, it's so wonderful to have you as part of speech modification. As I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of free resources on our website, speechmodification.com, and our online courses are there to help you build a foundation to improve in all of these different areas. So check out the online courses. Leave me a note if you have questions about which one is best for you. Thanks again and have a wonderful weekend. I'm Christine Dunbar from speechmodification.com. Remember, if you want to sound like a native speaker, you can do it. speechmodification.com. Bye, everyone. Hope to see you again soon.